Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Be Honest from Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to us, not only on the website but also on iTunes, be sure to check us out on Stitcher as well. Stitcher is an iPhone, Android app, also on other smartphones. You can download for free, and also registration is for free too. It's an app that you can listen to any podcast that is on there without ever downloading a file. When you register with Stitcher, be sure to put in promo code Mission Start or Conover or both, and you get to automatically be entered into a $100 prize every month from Stitcher. So be sure to check us out, support us, and we'll support you guys. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Be Honest from Mission Start Podcast, and this week is another Conover edition. Although I feel like I'm outnumbered here, and I feel like it's another Rolling 20s episode for some odd reason. Reason why is because with me today is Jeremy.
Hello.
Vance.
Well, actually, it's Steve, but yeah.
Yeah, Steve. My bad. I'm just going off the Skype here on there.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
And Jesse.
Yep, I'm here.
And you guys might hear them recently from the Rolling 20s podcast, which you guys should go check out. It's really awesome.
Yes, do it, please. Inflate our egos.
So, I brought you guys on today because I want you to tell me all about Comikaze and the right direction where it's headed to. So I have to first ask. Now, is this Comikaze's second time around, or what number are we at right now with the convention live?
2013 was number 3. Comikaze started back in 2011, and that was before Stan Lee and Elvira got involved in it somewhere between 2011 and 2012.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the LA Convention Center, but it was in Kensha Hall. And if you've been there, you know that Kensha Hall is what they call a makeshift hall
mm-hmm.
at the convention center, because it can either be convention space or parking lot.
Right, right.
You know, there's no tile down there. If you're walking around and you see tables, you look down, you see white stripes. Those aren't lineup stripes. That's where cars go.
Interesting. Okay, so what I'm just curious as far as how did Stanley and Elvira wanted to get more involved with Comikaze than prior years?
How they got involved is I'm not entirely clear, but somewhere between October of 2011 and November of 2012, they put in a financial and professional involvement. They actually bought in as partners at a convention that was started by a brother and sister.
Oh. Huh.
And since they got involved, obviously they didn't just loan their names. They actually started making more frequent appearances at the conventions, as well as bringing memorabilia they've had throughout their careers and putting up makeshift museums to each of them.
Oh, I see. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, because when I first saw the title that they were both a partner up for this convention, I was kind of curious about that. But that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we were walking through the Stan Lee Museum while there wasn't any signings, and Jesse pointed out something that nearly kind of made me drop a load, frankly. Part of Stan Lee's museum is a sketch of the Joker by Bob Kane.
Ooh,
Bob Kane is the creator of Batman, way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a sketch. I mean, it actually includes a note that says "To Stan," and it says some other words and Bob Kane's signature underneath. I mean, this is a full personal item.
Nice.
Yeah. Stan the man it was addressed to.
Yeah.
Nice. As I drink this water from my Packer cup. So now, what was different this time around? Give me the lowdown as far as what you guys saw. What was some of the things that stood out to you? Just go nuts.
Yeah, somebody else talk. I won't shut up.
Well, I haven't actually attended this con before, so I don't know exactly what was different, but I have been to that convention center before during the Anime Expo, and they just used the left side. I forget the hall name.
South Hall.
Thanks. Yeah, that obvious. But anyway, they just used that space, but it it used it really well. It wasn't super crowded. I mean, there were a lot of people there, but it still felt easy enough to move around in, and the booths and everything were set up for easy flow, and yeah, lots of memorabilia as well as just anime, comics, costumes, just all kinds of different booths and everything. So it was very well represented, and they used the upper floor for all of their
Panels.
okay, brain fart. Thank you, panels. and and then just the hall itself had the main stage plus all the booths. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
How crowded was it?
The attendance numbers haven't come out yet, but I was there all 3 days, and I didn't find a day where anything was impossible. There were times where you needed a little bit of patience, but it was pretty easy to get around at just about every phase of the convention.
No, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I didn't see them actually like stopping everybody. No, you can't come in. We reached our capacity, but I don't know. What Friday, was there like a line to like get in right at first, or did everybody kind of?
That was kind of one of the brilliant things they did. First of all, they did pre-reg like at 2 points prior to when I got there on Friday morning. The third time, they had people both with and without badges on a line in that deck outside the South Hall, the same place where the Anime Expo started their line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
The difference was the convention started at 1, but at 11, they started splitting the line. Those without badges went straight into pre-reg. Those with badges went upstairs in the left side of the South Hall and actually got into the hall, but instead of releasing them into the dealer's area 2 hours early, what they did was they set aside a bunch of barricades and started lining them up inside, where it's air conditioned, where it's temperature controlled, where there's no sun.
Smart.
So in addition, they also opened the cafeteria on that end of the building, so while these people are bored and if they get hungry, there's stuff to munch on.
Smart.
I have never seen anything like this, and it was the most brilliant thing I have ever seen as far as a registration line. Because we've been in this building where we've been forced to line up outside, which is miserable. We've been forced to line up in the bowels of the building, which is air-conditioned but not meant to hold that many people. Also miserable. This is the first time they actually lined us up inside, and it's almost like whetting the appetites, because you're not only standing there waiting to get in, but you can kind of see like the right side or the left side of the hall just going, I want to go, I want to go,
They're
I want to
teasing
go.
you.
Wow, that everything you've just said, like, made me smile. But like, this is something that I gotta point out to every other convention, because I've been to so many, anime-wise, that they could learn from this. If they can, if they can use this, my God, can you imagine just not only would people that be willing to wait, but like the amount of people who are going to be happy and no complaining?
Exactly. I mean, especially for like, because everybody, well, not everybody, but, a lot of people are cosplaying. Some of those costumes are not exactly the most comfortable, even
for
in
sure.
the air conditioning.
Yeah.
And you're standing out in the sun. My balding head definitely doesn't like standing out in the sun. I always have to wear a hat and, hat hair, all that kind of stuff. But, that would have been a definite improvement.
Well, this is a convention of similar size to Anime Expo, and I know I make that comparison a lot, but it's like the most frequent convention I go to there. But the thing is, there's several things that Anime Expo could learn, but there's several things they can't do, because one, they allow crowding to unbelievable degrees. So while they could probably start a line in the same place, because they tend to have strange appropriations for space, that would probably cut into something, either their concert space or their dealer space. Two, they couldn't fit everybody in this line like you would see lining up for the dealer's hall on insane days every day, but they could at least limit how many people are just standing in the naked sun, at the very least.
Yes.
And 3, if they want to get this to work, they actually do have to control the South Hall lobby and stop people from milling around in there. The last 2 years, they have had shoulder-to-shoulder people halfway through the lobby. And even last year, my 9-year-old watched people rush the tapes when they opened the dealer's hall on day 1, and she looked up at me and said, "This is stupid."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Anime Expo too. Because as soon as they release the OK Go for people to go to the dealer's hall, you see people running up those escalators.
Oh no, that's what I mean. This is the difference between Comikaze and Anime Expo.
Oh,
Comikaze,
okay, gotcha.
when they open the doors, it was just kind of people turning around going, "Oh, cool, let's go," and they walk. Anime Expo, it is a ridiculous cattle rush.
Oh,
and
okay, gotcha.
You
Yeah,
could really get hurt under the stampede.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and here's the thing I noticed with comic book conventions, and this is some experience of going to WonderCon 2 years ago, but like the crowd is much more mature and a lot more chill.
That is something we noticed as well.
Yeah.
We had a conversation, and we think it's because comic book, anime tends to focus on the new, so it tends to draw a younger crowd, standard somewhere around 16 to, say, 24.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books, whereas, anime stays static. If not, it gets cheaper as time goes by. Comic books tend to appreciate over time, so you have more people with history. You tend to have an older crowd, people with a little more patience and, I guess you could say, maturity.
Mm.
And they're not as much in a rush to get to every little thing because, half these people are just looking for signatures. So that means they'll be static in one place for a while.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And not as much of a need to... I didn't really notice any, immediate deals or anything like that. They had their con deals and whatnot, but it wasn't like you were immediately going to, miss something by not getting in there and being the first person there and first person to this booth or first person to that booth. Everybody had enough stock that, they're probably not going to run out.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That is great. That is actually good news to hear. While walking around the convention floor, what stood out to you? It could be cosplay, it could be an event, it could be just anything.
I think we all nerded out over different things. But...
Yeah, we had all levels of things we wanted to see at the end. There were industry and independent artists, so we got to see that. Stan Lee himself had several signings, one of which I stood in line for, and the others just kind of stood by while I was making 8-year-old sounds. We took a picture with Weird Al Yankovic.
Awesome.
I paid for the ticket, and I remember halfway through the line, I'm looking at the guys behind me, just kind of going, "Oh, I wish I had money." And then I just asked the lady, "Is this ticket good for singles or groups?" And she says, "It could be for groups." "Oh, guys, come on.
Nice.
And and the odd thing was, as I've been kind of crowing for about 2 weeks now, several members of the cast of Fangasm are coming on our show tomorrow. And believe it or not, I ran into them multiple times all weekend.
Yeah, that was really... But at the same time, they were interns for the Comikaze.
Well, they weren't working for
so.
Comikaze. Only one of them was technically working. The others were just there.
True, but, I mean, that's... The Fangasm show was them being interns for Comikaze, so...
Right.
And they did have a panel there.
Yeah, this time they were just guests.
Right.
With the exception of, Danny.
Awesome. Was there... what other nerdy moments was there for you guys? Because you said there was multiple...
Yeah. Oh, the video game museum was awesome.
Was that the first time?
Old school achievements.
Was that the first time I was ever there, or?
Yeah, I can say for sure I've been to all 3 years of this convention. That's the first time I've ever seen anything like that.
Nice.
Yeah, they had it set up for Atari 2600, not playable, but just
no,
kind
it
of
playable.
History. Was it?
Yeah, there were 2 guys sitting on the couch in front of us when I took that photo.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Playing Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty crazy. I mean, to go all the way back that far and have a working copy. Of course, I actually have one at my mom's house, but
and it wasn't just a 2600. They had a Super Nintendo set up on another TV. They had stand-ups from when I was young. We saw Super Mario stand-ups, Galaxa.
Nice.
The original.
Tubing.
yeah,
I
the arcade.
forgot what that game was until I saw Tubin.
They had original Mortal Kombat playing on the Genesis somewhere.
Yeah.
Nice. How big was it? Like how in scale? Like how much stuff was there?
Uh, God, what would you guys say? That space was probably about
3 booths?
well, it was probably about 10 yards long, probably closer to about 4 to 5 yards deep.
Okay.
Those were the stand-ups. They had, I think you're right. I think they had 3 full tables of glass cases of different things to stare at.
Yeah.
2 additional tables of consoles throughout the years. There were consoles from like 1972 all the way up to just before the current generation, just sitting on tables for you to paw at.
Yeah, it was. Seeing that old school TV that like Jeremy's dad had in his living room back when we were kids,
Yeah.
and the 2600 hooked up to it. That was awesome. Couch, sat down. It was really neat, and just all the different memorabilia and everything. Yeah, we definitely nerded out. I'm nerding out still.
That it was really cool because I was looking through the pictures yesterday and I noticed like all the old systems were set up. Like holy shit, like the original Game Boy setups. Like whoa, the brick.
Yeah, they actually had an old store kiosk sitting there, and like I said, we actually went through where the consoles were put, not the ones that were set up, but the ones that were just sitting at the tables, and we opened them up and just kind of sniffed the air real quick like it was wine or something. We checked out an old Saturn, an old Intellivision. There was an Atari Jaguar sitting there. There was all kinds of systems that were just out there, and there were signs next to them. And I told Steve, I could almost imagine kids coming through here looking at this and going, "God, these things were like bricks."
Still are
And they even had the Nintendo, the Japanese version, the
Yeah,
original.
they had the original family computer, the long term of Famicom sitting there.
I think the only things they didn't have there was the Super Scope, Power Glove, and
the Zapper.
the Game Boy VR.
Well, that's because most of those ended up in like trash bins.
Yeah, that's what I kind of assumed.
Yeah, but that's awesome though. That's pretty cool. As far as going back to the registration, how much was it for the full weekend?
At the door, it was only $60 for 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
So
and they
it's-
were doing all kinds of advertisements beforehand. Jess and I ended up getting 10% off our. I went for 2 single days. Jesse went for the whole weekend, but we both got 10% off, so it was really
they were
easy.
running regular 10% off sales like all throughout the time that I heard registration going on. Hotels were about the same price as Anime Expo comparatively. I just don't think that the local hotels will go much further than their offered convention rates.
Okay.
But I do think that they used the money well. It was very obvious that they were spending their money in the convention and working to make it bigger.
Oh yeah, especially with the registration line, that is a bona fide good way to use your money wisely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
registration was no headache, even though I showed up on day one. I showed up 2 hours. No, I showed up at the hotel 2 hours before the convention. I showed up at the line like 90 minutes before, and it was only 15 people deep, even, that close to when they were supposed to open pre-register or first day registration.
Mm.
And from the time they opened the doors to the time I walked in, it was literally 6 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, Jesse and I showed up, day 2. We got down there not right at 7 a.m. What time did we show? About 9:30?
About 8:30, things were already starting to run.
Yeah.
Basically,
And-
blink and we were done.
Yeah, it was stupid easy. I mean, I had my little printouts and whatnot. They just said, "Oh, okay, scan, here you go."
Yeah, Jesse
Take
actually
the lanyard.
outsmarted me because I'm walking with them with the badge around my neck. I'm just going, okay, the registration line is over here. We walk around the building, and all of a sudden Jesse just says, "What line?"
Nice.
Almost wasn't one. Yeah, it was.
No, there wasn't one. We turned the corner and walked straight up the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the first one in line. Boom. Now there is no line. It was that fast.
I will say that, I mean, even on Sunday, they had people lining up to get into the convention.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not registration line. People buying like day of tickets were actually still coming in like midday Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was there any panels you guys attended to or checked out?
Yeah, Dungeon Master,
Yeah.
Fangasm, Who Wants to Be a Superhero, the Cosplay Fashion Show, and the Saber Guild.
Awesome. Wow. Can you?
Sounds shocked.
I mean, no. It's cool. Can you explain?
I will say before you ask, we had the option of going to the costume or cosplay contest.
Uh-huh.
I decided to back out because on day 2, as I'm walking to the registration, I found this odd sign taped to a column outside the convention center.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had torn it half down, so I pulled it back up and was trying to read it. Turns out Heroes of Cosplay was being allowed to tape on the premises.
Oh.
And I just wanted to stay far away from them.
I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I decided to... I talked to the others and said it's their choice, but I backed out of going anywhere near them.
Okay. But yeah, go into detail, like, about the panels you guys went to.
Should we just go chronologically?
Yeah.
Sounds easiest.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
that starts with me. I went to the very first panel of the convention opening, the Saber Guild, and they are from Orange County, and they teach lightsaber dueling. They teach relatively choreographed lightsaber dueling, but they have lightsabers that aren't like the glass ones you buy for like $200.
Mm-hmm.
They have lightsabers actually built and rated for dueling. You could actually clap them against each other and they won't break.
Nice.
Awesome. I saw those pictures. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Definitely.
Yeah, it was kind of fun when it started out because there was this heavy-set girl in a Sith costume, and she was asking questions, and she asked what a lightsaber was, and nobody raised their hands, and all of a sudden I just said it's a directed photonic energy weapon. She says, we have a fan. I didn't want to tell her. I had no idea. I just guessed.
Right.
Yeah, she just said, are you a Jedi or a Sith Lord? And I looked at her and said, I'm black. I have to be a Sith Lord. And then this girl from a line of who were signing up for waivers so they could try the dueling, she suddenly yells out, "The dark side has cookies!" And I looked back at the girl and I said, I want to be a fat Sith Lord. Like I said, the girl who was already in costume was kind of portly, but she just patted her belly and said, "Beat you to it."
Nice.
So eventually it was interesting because they brought in the teacher eventually who was running a little late. He loaned out lightsabers to everybody in groups of about 15. Mm-hmm. He brought a lot with him. He had this guy dressed up as a Jedi teaching the kids, so it actually looked like something out of the movie.
Nice.
They got to keep their heads. And he mentioned that they're based out of Orange County, and they have people coming in every Tuesday. But if they get somebody in Los Angeles or enough people in Los Angeles interested, they already have people driving in from like Van Nuys and Burbank going an hour through the city for these lessons. They want to open up an LA branch.
Oh, wow.
So if they can find somebody willing to found an LA branch, they're willing to help set up a new arm of the Saber Guild.
That's really cool. Wow. Awesome.
And late in the day, I went to, or actually in the middle of the day, I went to an announcement by Stan Lee on the main stage. He's partnering up with Disney and his BAM Entertainment Group, or is it BAM or POW? I think it's POW, actually.
Yeah, it is POW.
They're starting a new project called Zodiac. Zodiac will be a comic book, a TV series, and a movie.
Whoa.
He didn't go into much more detail than that, but it's kind of funny to see Stan Lee at 92. He's commanding the stage. He's there with a rep from POW and a rep from Disney. And after he gives this announcement, he just says, "I think people are tired of hearing me talk." He turns to his guy from POW. "Why don't you tell him about the project?" And suddenly the guy opens his mouth. He says, "Well, it's about..." And Stan interrupts and says, "Shut up, I'm still talking."
Awesome.
Right after that, it was 5:30. Gosh, what was it at 5:30? Edward James Olmos came on the stage.
Wow.
He talked about his career, and he's as warm and funny as he was at San Diego. And I did a little bit of walking because I saw him at San Diego, and there was a bunch of people crowding me, so I decided to give them their space. I'm walking back towards the stage at about 6 for the nerd fashion show, and I suddenly hear, "So say we all." And some people start repeating it back, and I hear louder, "So say we all." He's like, after the third one, he's yelling into the mic, and people halfway across the convention center are yelling it back at him. And it's like, it's like all of a sudden I feel like I'm standing in the middle of the goddamn hangar deck.
It's an awesome thing at anime conventions. It's like when one thing starts, like if it's in a group and everybody's having fun, like they'll keep it going. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's even better watching when the people that don't go, because you'll see those people that recognize, but they're not outgoing. So instead of yelling, everybody's nose just turns in one direction, and they suddenly stand up taller, and they look like a bunch of lemmings getting ready to do something, and they just said no.
Awesome.
But yeah, I saw the cosplay fashion show. 3 different designers showed off their wares, and it was all nerd-related cosplay. Not fashion, not cosplay. The first set was a set of like 8 Star Trek-related dresses that I'm sure V is going to try and kill someone to get. The second set was all nerd skirts, just like above the knee skirts of different themes all the way through, like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Tetris and Portal.
Mm.
And the third one was by a corset specialty designer who even modeled some of her own stuff.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah, you'll find multiple pictures of that in the gallery, and right after that was the Fangasm panel, where everybody told interesting stories of, like, both during the show and behind-the-scenes stuff that you didn't know about.
Mm.
And all 7 of them got a chance to talk and answer multiple questions.
Nice. Any questions that kind of stood out to you when you were at the panel?
There was a couple, like when the moderator did ask a lot of cookie-cutter questions you'd expect at these things, but she did ask what everyone's first impressions of everybody was.
Mm.
And what you gathered was that everybody expected Danny to be cute, everybody expected Andrew to be weird, everybody expected Mike to be macho, everyone expected Sal to be a surfer for some reason, and everyone expected Paul, the big bear of the group, to be, God, what was it? They expected him to be relatively quiet, apparently, and he just wasn't. He's very self-assured. I don't think anybody knew what to make of Molly or Kristen when they first met, because, there's, how it is with nerds and girls. We just don't understand.
Of course. But awesome. Yeah, I like. Well, I was looking through the pictures yesterday, as I was saying. I like the fashion portion of the event, where like they were taking like these ideas that we see in the nerd culture, but using them in a very artistic way in the clothes.
Yeah, during that I kind of got stuck between a videographer and the Comikaze's own photographer, so I couldn't get the best angles of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take a look at the group shots of the Star Wars dresses, there's one in black with yellow pinstriping. She's carrying a tribble. That's actually Chloe Dykstra from Heroes of Cosplay.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's like one of the only people on that show I actually thought was more genuine and enjoyed her work.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. It's pretty cool. Cool. Let's see. Jesse, what about you? What was your day like at Comikaze?
Besides being a lemming to Jeremy?
Pretty much.
It's not like you got your nose like straight up my rear end all day.
Oh man, I was just kind of learning a lot of the artists doing prints of whatever combination of comic book characters, video game and TV character references, whatnot. One of my favorites out of that, and I actually, 2 of them were at the same table. Saw a picture of the Predator facing down Jason. I like.
Nice.
I'm not sure who's gonna win that one.
Didn't we see an artist that was selling like a print set that had, I think, Batman, the Predator, and something else?
Yeah,
I think that might be. I think that might be the same table.
I can't remember who the third one was.
But the other one was a little bit more comedic. You got all 4 the Ninja Turtles there. You got Leo and Raph in the front. Danto doing a face palm as Mikey and Deadpool are just holding hands, just dancing in the background.
I think my personal favorite was on a shirt. It had the cast from The Princess Bride in the Incredibles outfits, and instead of saying the Incredibles, it said the Inconceivables. I really would buy that shirt.
Nice.
I think that's another advantage that comic book conventions have over anime conventions. Not that makes them better or worse, but different. And comic book conventions are not shoehorned by the single word like anime conventions are, so there tends to be all kinds of fandom represented at them.
Yeah.
All kinds. No, there was one other thing I saw that impressed Helen and Jeremy had to point it out to me. It was the full-scale R2 units.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the robot builders, yeah.
I saw
Yes.
that. Oh man, it looks so cool.
Oh, dude, that was Jeremy handed his camera, so I saw the extra one, so shoot, I'm gonna get pictures of that thing. And middle of me, man, getting shots and that, I see two R2s just walk stroll right past me.
Yeah, Anthony, this is kind of one of the weirder things of the day. At the back near the main stage was the booth of these robot builders, and we found out through a pamphlet that they're not selling these things. They're hobbyists. They're just putting these things together by themselves for anywhere between $4,000 and $30,000, depending on the complexity and detail.
Wow.
But they also had a full-scale Wally.
Yeah, I saw that.
But at the same time, they're not stuck back there just plain sending these things out 5 feet and sending them back. They have full articulation compared to the R2 units. They make all the sounds. They have LEDs in different places. And instead of just staying by their booth, they would occasionally take single or double units out with them and go walking around the dealer's hall.
Yeah, they had little remote controls and whatnot. The final day, it was so cute. I don't know if it was a family member or if it was just some random person, but they had this little girl sitting inside of one of them with the hood open, and she's just cruising around. It was the cutest thing ever.
Yeah, not only was she sipping on what looks like it was water from like one of those plastic coffee cups, but every time someone would cross her path, she had this expression of, "Why are you staring at me?"
That's so cool. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh man, that's cute and awesome.
And eventually, when people started taking photos, she would start looking away like, "Oh my God, I am so over, Dad! Dad, when I said we should hang out more, this is not what I meant."
Awesome. That's really cool. I really dig those R2 units. Like, oh man, I wish I was there to see that.
Yeah, there were several times people just said, "This is cool, I'm going to take my picture with it," and then they hand off their camera, they run over to this thing, and they kneel down, they make a pose, and suddenly the R2 unit would scream, and the person just kind of backs up a couple steps like, "What I do? What I do?"
Oh, it was hilarious. They had one girl, she was like, "Oh, can I touch it?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, go ahead." And she puts her hand on it, and the head starts spinning. She's like, "Oh my God!" And another little girl was waving goodbye, and the R2 unit had one of its little panels open up and waved goodbye to her. I was like, that is so awesome.
That's awesome.
So sick. Awesome.
Yeah, what about the... oh God! Remember at Comic-Con, I took a picture of a group trying to recreate the Enterprise D bridge and make a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually had the.
Yeah, they were back at Comikaze, and they have more of it together. They actually have all 5 seats and the what'd you call it, the security and ops station behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had all that set up together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we're allowing people to take photo ops.
Yep.
Mm.
Luke Cage did not reprise his role as Captain Picard or Kirk or...
I forgot, there was something I wanted to mention, but I forgot to mention. I wanted to drag a bunch of people from the Marvel gathering and just go sit at this thing for a minute.
Nice. That'd be pretty sick.
It would have been fun, but I wasn't thinking at the time, and I was surprised that I was getting requested by a few people.
Speaking of which, how was the Marvel Gathering?
It was interesting. It was a little rigid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the guy running it did a bad thing, but it was definitely one of those things that played to the masses. He had a few distinct gatherings he wanted, and there wasn't any time for single requests like there usually is in groups.
I see.
When he said it was done, it was all done, and everyone just kind of split off to the 4 winds. And maybe it's just because guys at comic conventions aren't used to the various character requests that will come through at anime conventions.
Right.
My biggest.
It
problem-
was pretty large, though. I wasn't expecting it to be that big.
Yeah, but Anthony's right. I mean, usually I end up peeling a few people off and taking distinct photos, and that opportunity just never presented itself here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, every convention has its own thing. I think that, obviously, coming from an anime convention background, like, yeah, these gatherings usually have, like, requests for, like, all right, so once everybody else is done with the cast, like, who wants, single shots, who wants couple shots, that type of deal.
Yeah, there was a few specific requests, but it was generally by people who already had the guy in charge's ear. It seemed like before things really got started.
Ah, I see. Gotcha.
There wasn't that point where he turned around and asked the photographers, "What do you want to see?"
Gotcha. Okay. I saw it was fairly big, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, what would you guys say? It was about, like, I'd say 60 people.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah. I was busy taking care of your kid, so I didn't get to see how big it got, but there was easily 30
You
people.
suddenly volunteered and said, "I got this." It's like, yeah, all right, Mother Teresa.
My biggest problem
I was
honestly, is
them
that
sit there and continue crying. So yeah.
Although out of the Marvel gathering, the thing I was most surprised to see and enjoyed, it had to be that Kid Omega,
Nice. Yeah. I saw
yes.
that.
the Quentin Quire.
I don't know. I still liked the kid Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Oh yeah, those were so cool. I was like, my friend and I were looking at that yesterday. It's like, is that Quicksilver? It's like, oh shit.
I think that's why the gathering started out a little bit late. Not very, but a little bit, because these kids were running around in these outfits, and a lot of people just wanted to stop Magneto's children and take a picture.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely brother and sister.
Yeah.
And then to be dressed up that way, it was pretty cool.
One of my favorite pictures from the gallery yesterday was I love the photo of Batman and then like all of the little kids like beneath him, like
Yeah.
Iron Man and
That was the last day.
yeah. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, that was just kind of some random thing we walked across. I don't know who knew what, but somebody definitely stopped these kids in front of the guy to take a picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
Best thing I saw right before the Marvel gathering. So people were kind of gathering up together, and they had a Captain America, Black Widow, Iron Man, and Thor. Yeah, the four of them were just kind of standing there talking, and all of a sudden this guy dressed as Nick Fury comes walking up, and he did it with the total voice and everything. He's just like, who gave you guys permission to be lined up here, without me?
Nice.
It was such a good icebreaker, and everybody was laughing, and they started taking pictures. But I have to give that guy props. He pulled off a pretty decent imitation.
Nice.
Yeah, I was laughing a bit during the gathering because I found a guy early on dressed up as Iron Fist, and everyone was surprised to find a Luke Cage at all there. So every time there was a group photo that involved the two of us, they just said, you guys have to stand together. It's like, okay. Midway through the gathering, another Iron Fist shows up, and he looks up and just says, oh my god, you're here! It's like, holy crap, man, back up.
You're popular, man.
Yeah, and then late in the gathering, a woman shows up as Iron Fist and just says, oh, this is perfect. Now I'm feeling crowded.
Hey, everybody loves Luke Cage. It's so cool.
You have to tell your story, Jeremy,
Which,
about picking up chicks.
oh my god.
Yes.
Oh.
This is kind of embarrassing. Towards the end of the gathering, they got us together for one more group picture.
Mm-hmm.
And there was they were trying to find space for everybody, and there was this girl dressed as Rogue who was probably about almost a full head shorter than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to be as helpful as I can, so I just finally, I tapped her shoulder and said, come with me. I walked towards the top of the area they wanted us to stand at. And as soon as we were both standing next to each other, I just kind of hoisted her up and put her on my shoulder. Now, first of all, she's dressed up as Rogue, and the people down at the bottom taking pictures just said, take off your glove and put it on his head, which is, really a little more personal I wanted to get.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have oily skin and I know this. But as soon as the photo is over, they tell us, okay, everyone rest for a second. And she said, do you want to put me down? I said, I can stay here for a while. I thought I was making her nervous, so I just said, okay, I'll put you down. As soon as I put her feet on the ground, she turns around and says, weren't you at Comic-Con? Yeah, by the water, right? Yeah. You picked me up there. Did I?
Oh, shit.
And she says, yeah, I recognize you as soon as you picked me up. And in the back of my head, I'm going, how do you recognize somebody after they pick you up? So, as we're talking, this friend of hers dressed as Shadowcat comes up the stairs, and she just says, you were at Comic-Con. I said, yeah, you picked me up at Comic-Con. Okay, wait. Apparently this is my identifier now.
Wow. So, okay. So this is your method? Is this your advice to every guy out there who goes to the college?
It's like I told them in the last 20s podcast. If I knew it was this easy, I would have been pressing girls over my head during high school.
So for everybody listening, fellas, to get a girl at a comic book convention, you just put her on your shoulders.
Yeah, don't just build biceps. Show them how it works. They're impressed.
Just don't drop her, please. Please don't drop
so
her.
make sure you're in pretty fit condition. Oh, that's awesome.
Wouldn't that be sad if that was the new comic book convention flirting, cosplay tossing? Look, Rogue can fly. Ugh!
That'd be awesome. I know your name's in advance, but what's your name again?
Steve.
Steve. I did that.
That's okay.
Steve. I didn't ask. Like, what was there any panels that you attended to or checked out?
Well, once Jesse and I showed up on the second day, we kind of hung out with Jeremy most of the day, so we attended all the panels that we went to together. I think on Saturday the only thing panel-wise that we went to was the Dungeon Master at the end of the night, but we did go to the main stage for the Who Wants to Be a Superhero.
Oh, that was Sunday.
Was that Sunday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Sunday.
No, you're right. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Saturday,
Tell me about
Saturday
Dungeon
we
Master,
just
though.
wandered
That was-
around, and then the Dungeon Master though was really cool. I don't remember where they're based out of. I kept a flyer, but unfortunately it's in somewhere.
Lost in the room somewhere.
I think it's still in my suitcase. But
I
anyway,
think they're Orange County, but don't hold me to that.
yeah. But apparently they have a regular meeting spot with full theatrical accoutrements and so forth. They were very improv at the actual panel, but they I'm assuming right before the panel that they got everybody's names before they let them in, because they essentially took volunteers from the audience and made an adventuring group. And so they had one guy as kind of the dungeon master announcer type guy, and a couple of improv actors as set characters, and took what, 8 or
6.
6? Yeah, six random audience members, including a Fraggle.
Wow.
who was a tree wizard.
Let me interject for just a moment. They're
Uh-huh.
actually taking place. They do their thing at the Vortex Theater on Olympic Boulevard, so it was actually only about a 6-mile trip for them to get to the convention.
Ah, okay.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no, it was obviously they picked randomly throughout the audience, so you had varying levels of acting and so forth. But other than one guy, they all really got into it, and it was just comedic and spontaneous, and I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I especially enjoyed when they brought up the guy with the puppet, because instead of assigning them roles, they would tell them that they're adventurers and ask them what they are. And as soon as the guy with the puppet came on, he just said, "So, what are you, good sir?" And the guy puts up his arm, holds up the puppet's hands, and he says, "I'm a tree wizard."
Yeah, that was awesome. He was doing the Fraggle voice so well. He was just, kind of this laid-back hippie and everything. And they asked him, they're like, well, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm kind of a pacifist. Just like, what good are you going to be? Another girl.
Yeah, he actually says, "What good is a fish?" "No, a pacifist." "You hit people with Pacific fists?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were really doing a good job of rolling with the punches and everything. Another girl came up there and said, "Well, I smile. That's what I do." And they're just like, "What?" They eventually categorized her as like a children's toy and so forth. They had like 3 wizards in the group plus a bard.
The highlight was the bard who couldn't rhyme.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, if you did rhyme, that was essentially how you cast spells. So that, especially since you're doing it on the fly, for certain situations that you run into, it can be a little hard to rhyme. I was sitting there thinking about it going, yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, probably one of the defining moments of the show was there was a troll supposedly on a bridge who threw his weapon away, and the bard went to go retrieve it. Of course, he threw it off a bridge, and the guy didn't realize where he was. So all of a sudden, the announcer with a microphone just says, "And the bard is falling to his death." And suddenly, the guy with the puppet comes forth, and he out of like thin air or his butt, I don't know which, he suddenly says, "Oh great God, save the guy who sings! Give this dude some rockin' wings!" You hear this gong. The bard now has a pair of rocking metal wings.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it was so improv. And then at the very end, the adventuring party split up, and half of them joined the bad guys, and there was a huge fight, and the only guy that was left standing was the bard, and they had originally been contracted to save the fair
king's
maiden, Burgermeister's daughter, yeah,
Yeah.
who had actually voluntarily joined the bandits because she didn't want to marry, the guy that she was being forced to marry. So she wound up getting killed in the conflict. So, the guards show up, they're threatening the bard, use your magic, bring her back to life, and he's getting so flustered he almost wound up becoming the tree wizard's wife. And just all kinds of, and then at the end he ended up wishing everybody back to life, including the troll, including, all these, and so everybody ended up killing everybody. It was a royal mess, but it was so funny.
Nice. Oh man, there's one thing that I do miss about D&D. Aside from playing it, it's just like the stories that come out of it.
Yeah.
They're so good.
This was like somewhere between a cross of LARPing and D&D because it is live action role playing that includes the audience, but at the same time, it's taken so tongue in cheek. It's like you're sitting around with a bunch of guys, some bad Mountain Dew, just going, it would be really funny.
Yeah. They kind of, they obviously had their little script going on, but they were totally fine with everybody just,
Deviating.
Exactly. Very off the cuff, very spontaneous. So, they were handing out the flyers, and I ended up taking one. I think we all ended up taking one. And they were good for 10% off because they were having one the next day.
You know what might be fun? I have to check the dates, but they seem to do this twice a month. Imagine what would happen if one of these just happened to fall on one of the days prior to ALA.
Oh, dude, I so want to go if it does.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on the dates and see if it lines up at all.
Oh,
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be sick. So the other panel, what was it called again?
We also went to the Who Wants to Be a Superhero panel.
Yeah, Stan Lee's Who Wants to Be a Superhero.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was thinking of the panel where crap, what was it? Maybe it was that. It was from the reality TV show. Maybe it was that same thing. Yeah.
Well, we went to both Fangasm and Who Wants to Be a Superhero.
Okay, then okay. Who Wants to Be a Superhero? Right. I remember watching that entire first season of that show. Actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Man, I was kind of surprised when I saw all of them there in that picture. It's like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was wrapped by the first season of that show because I think I felt what a lot of comic book fans did is that I am only 2 steps away from making the attempt for something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a very accessible show back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently most of the cast members have stayed friends, which was interesting.
Yeah, not just with each other, but half of them are like business associates of Stan Lee as a result.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
and then they even cross seasons. Season 1 and season 2 were the people that showed up, and they all apparently get along really well.
Well, to be fair,
normally
those were
with
the only 2
reality
seasons
TV.
of the show.
Oh, I thought there was a season 3.
No, they apparently were starting to line up a season 3, but I guess Sci-Fi lost interest and it just never came.
Okay, because they mentioned season 3, and I hadn't seen it personally, but I thought there was.
No.
But yeah. I don't know. With most reality TV, I try to ignore it as much as possible. But what I have seen, I'm like, yeah, these people aren't getting together at the end of this. So it was kind of nice to know that it had that kind of an effect.
Awesome. What did they? What was in the panel that they discussed or talked about?
Most of it was incidental stuff of either happened during the show or their, I'd say, their interactions with Stan Lee on varying degrees.
Yeah.
The one with...
Well, they kind of had a what are you doing now moment,
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to hear what they had managed to accomplish.
Yeah. The 2 that stood out was, one was personal, and that was Hygiena, because she talked about moving around and having a family and then having a group of geek parents get together, which I'm a part of. My wife, it turns out, when she first met this woman, she just kept staring at her going, I know you from somewhere. But she wouldn't say from where, and then at one point it clicked for her.
Nice.
And the second one was the best story of the panel had to be the diffuser.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the story he told about walking into a warehouse?
Yes. It was one of their challenges, I believe.
Yeah, one of their challenges was they were supposed to walk
one.
into a warehouse, get captured, and then go through a mental challenge. But the diffuser, who won season 2, is a real-life cop out of Austin of like 23 years. So as they're walking through the place, he naturally took the lead because they expect him to spot what they couldn't. And then he, as they're walking through, he suddenly tells them all to stop, and he says, "There's a net right above us with 2 guys." He says, "Forward slow," and he keeps walking, and then as soon as he hears click and they release the net, he suddenly has them all back up. The net drops to the floor, and he says, "Okay, we can walk on." And then you hear, "Okay, we have to have you guys do that again." "Why? We avoided the trap." "No, you're supposed to get caught in the net for the challenge." "But we avoided the trap."
Wow, that's so
So
cool.
they actually had to retake it, so they were caught in the net. And I actually went and looking through the scene, and you can actually see the diffuser's face where he's trying to get into it, but at the same time he's going, "Why am I in a frickin' net?"
I did also like the fact that apparently they had all their little planning stages downstairs, and so the people ended up figuring it out, and so they would be downstairs listening into what they were going to have to go through the next day, and one of them overheard, oh man, it's going to be so hard to wake up and get these guys out of bed at like 4 a.m. and everything, and so they went in and told everybody else, "Hey guys," and so everybody went to sleep in their costumes and everything else, and so they came in, the alarms go off, and they're like, "Okay, come on, oh, you are all in your costumes already, well, of course, you're superheroes," got them to go. But I thought that was kind of amusing that they had their plans foiled that way too.
Nice. Awesome.
I think the other one that stood out for me was the girl that was talking about making a heroine movie.
Oh, Lumeria.
You're right.
Yeah.
We stopped by their table after the panel, and I overheard her talking to someone that she's trying to start a Kickstarter soon to put together a movie for a female superhero lead.
Oh, wow.
Which is something that neither of the big companies have done yet.
Wow.
So she's very into this project, and I talked to her for a little bit. We're trading emails right now because she's considering whether or not she wants to come on the 20s and talk about it before the Kickstarter starts on November 25th.
Yeah, awesome. Just for a minute there, just like there's like so many puns going through my head right now.
She's very into the project, and I told her, we've been speaking back and forth about this ourselves very earnestly, wondering where are the superheroine movies? Where is that girl that's going to kick ass and we can all see it on the big screen? She suddenly throws her hands up in the air like, "God, someone understands!"
I mean, like the first thing that I would say is like, points toward that Wonder Woman fan-made creation that you guys posted on the 120s.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is true. Like there isn't much. Like if you really want to go back and find a heroine movie, it's like you have to go back to the original like Wonder Woman show back in the freaking, was it 80s or?
Yeah, but what if we had in between? We had a crappy Supergirl movie. We had the quasi-comedy, My Superhero Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
And we had Catwoman, which just made people throw up hair balls
yeah.
anyway, so.
Yeah, that.
Should we even mention Elektra?
Oh god, I forgot about that.
No, that wasn't really a superhero movie so much as video diarrhea.
I totally forgot about that movie. But yeah.
So you pooped it out.
Exactly. But yeah, she's definitely is right though. There isn't a major blockbuster female superhero movie.
And if I can interject for a minute, these guys were super patient with me on Sunday because out of all the things that they could have done, they followed me around. And I had bought a ticket that morning for a Stan Lee signing.
Ah, I see.
And the day before, I had bought a copy of All New X-Men #1, the recent series where the originals have time traveled. It's signed. And after we get out the signing, I'm staring at it going, God, I wish I could get this graded. And suddenly somebody comes up from another booth and says, "Do you want a certificate of authenticity or to get that CGC graded?" "Why, yes, I would."
It
So we
really
walk over
was
to the booth and they
Providence.
stand in another line with me while I'm filling out forms. And they don't, I got to hand it to these guys. They didn't complain a bit. They were just kind of curious about the process, and at the same time, they're rubbernecking everywhere, just going, I'm seeing interesting crap either way. I don't care.
Yep.
Awesome. Wow. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Overall, you guys' final thoughts on the convention?
I would definitely do it again. It was a lot of fun. It was, homey, I guess. It wasn't, the huge production and like everything was going on at once, and you didn't know where to go here or where to go there. It was pretty well paced. It had kind of, in my opinion, something for everybody. It was a lot of fun. It was cool hanging out and getting to nerd out.
Awesome.
The nerding out is probably the best part.
What point of nerding out isn't the best part?
I'd say that's the strength of Comikaze, is that this isn't a convention where the anime fans are left out, or the comic fans are left out, or the sci-fi fans are left out. I mean, when your guest list for 1 year is Weird Al Yankovic and Edward James Olmos and Bruce Campbell and Lou Ferrigno and Herb Trimpe and Stan Lee and Elvira, the cast of Phantasm. Yeah, this is one of those things where instead of just asking a couple of your friends who might be interested in one thing to come, you need to ask all your friends to get together and come, because each of you is going to nerd out at a different moment, and everybody gets to share in it.
Nice.
Oh, by the way, all of our friends here in town extremely jealous after that Weird Al.
Are you kidding? I keep inviting them to different things, and all they say is, I'll think about it, or maybe next year. I invite these two. They follow me down on a lark, and all of a sudden they come back, and they're the envy of town. Are you serious?
Yes.
Yep.
Why? Because of Weird Al? Because of Stan Lee? Because, Fangasm?
It's specifically Weird Al.
And Stanley. We got to see him.
Yeah, we did, but I haven't had Kirk or any of the other guys go, "Oh man, you met Stan Lee." No, it was, "You got your picture taken with Weird Al." Damn it, I should have gone.
See, this is what I mean about nerding out. Everybody has different things that's gonna get them, but at the same time, I've been listening to Weird Al records since like 1986, and to meet this guy, I shook his hand and just like, "I enjoyed your work," and he looked at me with his genuine smile and says, "Well, thank you." Really?
Yeah, I was like, "Dude, I have loved all your albums," and he looks at me like he's surprised. I'm like, "Dude, you're awesome."
Wow. That's awesome, though. It's great to hear. I definitely like a convention that that tends to all crowds, not just specifically one or two.
Well, Jesse overheard a story with Stan Lee. He's still ornery throughout the show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the pens, dude.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, after we were done signing, we were walking away, and Stan Lee's still signing. He's got like 4 different pens, so he can sign anything, like black, silver, white, whatever is necessary to put it on color. Or on the color he's writing on. And apparently as we were walking away, somebody put something in front of him. Stanley picks up the black pen, starts writing, and he just, it starts smudging, it's running out of ink, and all he does is look at one of his aides and goes, "Can't you get me a black pen that freaking works?"
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually the guy standing right behind us when we were waiting to get your thing CDC'd, because he was showing it off. It was a Spider-Man comic, and he had started signing in one spot and then ended up getting a new pen and having to sign in another one.
Wow. That's interesting.
I wonder if he gets double points for that.
That's a good point. I do wonder. Do you get? Is it worth like double the value now? It's like sign on twice.
I mean, that's truly a unique thing. It's got a partial Stanley signature and a Stanley signature. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, but it's definitely one of those things where you can tell that unique story to your kids. I remember when Stan Lee ran out of ink. That sounds awfully personal, Dad.
Oh wow. I cannot talk tonight. Damn it, brain fart.
Actually, I invited you to this last year, and you said you were probably going to go, and I didn't hear from you.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, school happened. But yeah, no, I will eventually come to one of these eventually. I mean, either when I graduate from college, or I take time off, or I take a break and say, hey, I'm going to a convention because I need the break from school. So
I'd say this is
to be honest. I mean, well, okay.
Go ahead.
All right. I was going to say for at least for me, I showed up on day 2 and went through a little day 3. It was still worth it, even just for a 2-day thing. So if you have something to do on Friday because you've got school or whatever, you can still make it a weekend.
Oh, okay.
I'd say this is the best of all worlds, because it's a mid-sized convention. It has all the benefits of going to something like Comic-Con, but less than half of the drama.
Ah, gotcha. Jeremy, wait, I think you already gave your thoughts on the convention just a few minutes ago.
I think I just did.
Yeah, like unexpectedly. Jesse, what your thoughts overall?
My thoughts.
There's
You know,
got
when
to
I
be
get
more
my
than
brain
one.
back from there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's all scattered around the floor, man. It's
Oh, I mean, ever since he got back on his Facebook, I've been finding random pictures that we've taken that he's put on Facebook and people just nerding up over him. I think he's in the glow still.
Well, and to be fair, there was, 3 gigs of pictures to go through, so he did
No.
all the first night.
No. It's 4.5.
Okay. My bad. But yeah, he went through all of them the first night. So,
Oh, wow, crazy. But yeah, Jesse, your thoughts overall?
Overall, I would do it again, and I recommend anyone who has any fandom in anything, whether it be sci-fi, horror, comics, anime, cartoons of yesteryear, video games from now to past, go to it.
Awesome. That is a great words to live by and great advice for anybody in the LA area or anybody who wants to go check it out. Please do. Please do. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this podcast. Let's talk about Comikaze.
it was fun.
And before we all leave, we're gonna start with you, Jeremy. Where can they find you on the internet?
I am on cosplay.com under the screen name Freight. You'll find me frequenting both the Anime Los Angeles and Anime Expo forums as of late. We have a weekly comic book centered podcast called The Rollin' 20s. Tomorrow we actually record with our 4th member V, and at least 3 members of Fangasm are coming on. Kristen Hackett had to back out. She had an unexpected calendar conflict. However, I've gotten recent requests for Skype names from Sal Fringo, Andrew Duvall, and Danny Snow.
Nice.
So we are going to talk to them. Let me see. You can subscribe to our Twitter at rolling_20s, and you can subscribe to our show and several others in the MSV library at missionstarpodcast.com, Stitcher, and iTunes.
Sweet.
And we turn off the recorder.
Jesse, where can they find you on the internet?
In the dark corner where the hentai lives.
Oh, that's me. That's me. You're gonna...
Shoot. I've always been a very private person. I don't even know half of my shit.
And now he makes fun of me for having a spiel, and he's got nothing.
Dude, I don't even know.
I would probably suggest that they can find you on the Rollin' 20s podcast.
Yes. Somewhere in there.
Awesome.
Somewhere in
Look,
there.
look for that dark corner.
We put him in the doghouse with a silver bowl.
He is disguised in the all-concealing shadows.
Steve, where can they find you on the internet?
Pretty much the same place as Jesse and Jeremy. I the Twitter for the Rolling 20s, I don't really do anything else.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. And you can follow me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can also follow this podcast along for other work on our website at missionstarpodcast.com. Be sure to check out these guys' Rolling 20s podcast. It's really good. It's really awesome. You guys go check it out. By the time you listen to this, it'll be a Friday, so please do check out our cosplay gallery of Comikaze and our convention report that Jeremy did. So yeah, definitely check it out, and be on the lookout for another con report going up, possibly this weekend or next week, depending on how busy I am. But yes,
It'll be. I know in my case it'll be next week. I'm going to BentCon on Saturday.
nice. And then I have what's it? I think her name Marcy or Marie. One of our people within the middle to East Coast went to IzumiCon this past weekend.
Yeah.
I bet she had fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
And we have a bit of a sideways announcement.
okay.
Something Anthony probably should mention is that all 4 of us in this room, including a couple others from Mission Start, and maybe even a couple additional people, we're all happening to show up at Anime Los Angeles. We're going to try another From the Floor podcast recording while we're there.
Nice.
Sweet. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, and Anime Los Angeles is a smaller venue, but there's more tables that are set up at random that tend to be abandoned at night, so we could actually sit at one of them and just get around and be stupid for a while.
Awesome.
But, it was kind of fun hanging out in the dark stairwell.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that there is no dark stairwell at Anime Los Angeles, and it occurred to me as we're talking, we could actually try and grab a couple cosplayers or random people and just ask them how they're doing.
Awesome.
For sure.
In the non-groping fashion, I should say.
Oh, come on. You want to pick one of them up.
There are so many ways to take that sentence. You better be talking about someone over the age of 10.
Oh, 10. Such a high number.
It's a family convention. I have to be somewhat realistic.
I'm going to, I think, stop it here before it gets any worse. But yes, as Jeremy said, a lot of us will be at Anime LA, so be on the lookout for us. I'll give you a heads up as far as like if that panel is going to be going on or not. Let's wait and see. It just ended registration for panel, so yes. Again, thank you guys for joining me for this podcast. And with that, I bid you all adieu, and we'll see you all next time.
Later, all.
All right. Have a good night.